Patrick Star is the ultimate walking controversy. He's got no income, no job, and no real plan, yet somehow manages to eat snacks all day, hang out at the Krusty Krab, and live his life without any visible means of support. How does someone with literally no source of income manage to sustain such a carefree lifestyle? Is there more going on behind the scenes of Patrick's rock than we're led to believe? And before you say, it's just a cartoon, dude, let me remind you, even cartoon worlds operate on rules. In Bikini Bottom, Mr. Krabs counts pennies like his life depends on it. Squidward's stuck in a dead-end job for chump change, and SpongeBob works his sponge off. Meanwhile, Patrick? He floats along like life's one big jellyfish field. So what do we know for sure about Patrick's financial habits, if we can even call them that? For starters, his house is nothing more than a giant boulder with a modest interior. We're talking about a living room with sand furniture and a TV set that doesn't even seem to have a plug. It's as minimal gets. He doesn't pay rent or a mortgage, and there's no indication that he has any running utilities. You might think, well, that's probably why he's broke. He's living rent-free, but does this make him financially savvy or just dirt poor? Maybe both. It's hard to tell. When it comes to spending money, Patrick is equally clueless. In the episode Chocolate with Nuts, when SpongeBob and Patrick try to become entrepreneurs by selling chocolate, but Patrick clearly has no idea what it means to be an entrepreneur. And it's a running joke throughout the series that Patrick is entirely unaware of how currency works. But despite his complete lack of financial knowledge, Patrick still manages to eat at the Krusty Krab regularly. We never see him paying for anything, and he's definitely not on Squidward's tab. This raises the question, how is he funding his Krabby Patty habit? Is he running up a secret tab at the Krusty Krab? Is SpongeBob footing the bill every time? Or is Mr. Krabs just taking pity on him? It's one of those Bikini Bottom mysteries that has no clear answer but opens the door to all sorts of speculation. And given everything we've seen, it's easy to assume Patrick is completely broke. He has no job, no visible source of income, and yet he somehow manages to live a carefree lifestyle. And he's always lounging around, napping, or following SpongeBob on his adventures without a worry in the world. And to fully understand the situation here, we need to take a look at his expenses. For me, and probably all of you, the biggest expense is housing. Well, an average American spends about 25% of their income on housing. But you are probably thinking, Patrick lives under a literal rock. No mortgage, no rent. I agree. And in today's housing crisis, that's already a win. And at first glance, his house seems like the ultimate hack for dodging rent. No walls, no doors, no plumbing. Just lift it up, crawl inside, and you're good to go. Sounds like the life of someone who's either incredibly broke or a minimalist living way ahead of his time. But wait, his rock isn't just a rock. Despite the apparent simplicity of Patrick's home, we see him with a couch, a TV, a phone, and sometimes even a bed. His interior decor might be sans chic, but it's still a functional living space. So while Patrick may not pay rent, he's likely on the hook for utilities. Someone has to power that TV he's always watching. Let's estimate a monthly utility bill of $30, generously assuming Bikini Bottom has subsidized C-Star living rates. Now, onto his dining habits. A single Krabby Patty combo meal costs $3.50. Considering Patrick eats there regularly, let's say twice a week, that's about $364 a year just on Krabby Patties. And we have seen him indulging in ice cream and other treats. Take the episode Something Smells, where Patrick joins SpongeBob for a feast of sundaes made of onions and ketchup. But hey, it's the thought that counts. Let's assume he spends an additional $10 a month on snacks. That's another $120 annually. What about maintenance for his rock? Sure, it's a low-maintenance bachelor pad, but even rocks have upkeep. Maybe some sandpaper to smooth the rough edges or repairs. Let's toss in another $50 annually for rock maintenance. Add it all up, and Patrick's yearly expenses come out to roughly $564 for food and $410 for utilities and upkeep, totaling around $974 annually. Not bad for a guy who spends most of his day doing nothing. So where does Patrick get this money? He has no visible income, no sugar daddy as far as we know, and no visible work ethic. Well, Patrick Starr's resume is, to put it mildly, an underwater enigma. Despite his often lazy and clueless demeanor, Patrick has dabbled in several jobs, although none of them lasted long. Most famously, he worked at the Krusty Krab in various capacities. In the episode Big Pink Loser, Patrick briefly becomes a Krusty Krab employee to imitate SpongeBob. It lasts all of 5 minutes before he quits, declaring that working is way too hard. These little jobs pop up now and then, but they're hardly enough to sustain a constant Krabby Patty diet. It's like watching your friend get a summer job, blow their first paycheck on junk food, and then quit because it's too stressful. In other stints, Patrick worked for Plankton at the Chum Bucket. His inefficiency knew no bounds. In one episode, Patrick even acts as a door-to-door salesman with SpongeBob, attempting to peddle chocolate. This endeavor also ends poorly, though his chaotic sales tactics are undeniably amusing. So if he isn't earning money through a job, he might be living off of debt. Well, when it comes to debt, Patrick may be in a surprisingly precarious position. Going back to his spending habits, we calculated that he spends around $974 a year while practically earning $0. If we stretch this expense habit over a decade, Patrick racks up $9,740 in debt, assuming no inflation. Let's assume that Bikini Bottom's financial system charges 2% compounding interest annually on unpaid debts. To calculate this, the formula for compounding interest is future debt equals principal times 1 plus rate to the power of time. Plugging in the numbers, future debt equals 974 times 1.02 to the power of 10 is around $11,872. That's an additional $2,132 in interest over a decade, just for living beyond his means. Now, we previously assumed Patrick paid no mortgage or rent given his simple rock home, but if he is paying even a nominal fee, his financial situation becomes much worse. Let's consider he's paying a rock-bottom rent of $50 per month or $600 annually. This would add $6,000 to his 10-year debt. With 2% annual compounding interest, his housing-related debt alone would total approximately $600 times 1.02 to the power of 10, which would be around $7,317. Now, consider his love for jellyfishing. A jellyfish net could cost $20, and if Patrick needs one annually due to damage or loss, that's an extra $200 over 10 years. While this seems minimal, it's another expense accruing interest. With compounding, $20 times 1.02 to the power of 10 is around $24.38 per year. For a decade, that's an extra $243.80, pushing Patrick's total debt even further. After incorporating all these factors, Patrick's 10-year financial burden looks like this. Living expenses and Krabby Patties, $11,872. Rent or mortgage payments, $7,317. Jellyfishing equipment, $243.80. Grand total, $19,432.80. So what's the deal? Is he just mooching off his friends? Well, that's one theory. There's definitely a pattern of SpongeBob covering for Patrick, especially at the Krusty Krab. You ever notice how SpongeBob doesn't even blink when Patrick orders food without paying? It's like an unspoken agreement between them. SpongeBob pays, Patrick eats, and the cycle continues. Maybe SpongeBob feels sorry for him, or maybe he just enjoys having a lunch buddy who never turns him down. Either way, it looks like SpongeBob's wallet takes the hit. I mean, Patrick's finances are deeply intertwined with his best buddy's generosity. If there's one person who has a major influence on Patrick's financial well-being, it's SpongeBob. In fact, it wouldn't be a stretch to say that without SpongeBob, Patrick might actually be homeless, or at the very least, even more broke than he already appears to be. But why is SpongeBob so willing to bankroll Patrick's lifestyle? Part of it might be SpongeBob's inherently generous and optimistic nature. He's the type of friend who sees the best in everyone, even if it means he has to dig into his own wallet. If you ask me, SpongeBob is a financial enabler, unknowingly supporting Patrick's lack of ambition. If SpongeBob ever decided to stop helping out, Patrick might be forced to actually get a job or come up with a way to make his own money. But as it stands, SpongeBob's kindness acts as a cushion, preventing Patrick from facing the harsh realities of being broke. In a way, SpongeBob's influence creates a strange cycle. Patrick doesn't feel the need to earn or save money because he knows his best friend will always have his back, and SpongeBob, with his endless positivity, never seems to question why he's always paying for things. But this is where the fan theories get really wild. Some people believe Patrick might actually have hidden wealth. The idea is that Patrick inherited a massive fortune from a wealthy family member, and he's living off a trust fund without even realizing it. It would explain his complete ignorance about money. I mean, why bother understanding finances when you've got a bottomless bank account? Or maybe his perpetual laziness and lack of concern for money are signs of a gambling problem. This one is based on the idea that Patrick might have lost all his wealth through bad bets. Patrick got a taste of the excitement from gambling at some underground Bikini Bottom casino. One thing led to another, and suddenly he was blowing whatever cash he had on things like sea snail races or betting on Plankton's latest scheme to steal the Krabby Patty formula. It might sound far-fetched, but we've seen him make terrible decisions for much less. If Patrick had a gambling streak, it would explain why he's perpetually broke and living under a rock. What I like to think is that he's actually a financial genius, playing the role of an idiot to dodge paying taxes or avoid other financial responsibilities. According to this theory, Patrick is secretly a mastermind who's figured out how to live a life of leisure without lifting a finger. By playing the part of the broke, lazy friend, he gets everyone around him, mostly SpongeBob, to feel sorry for him and cover his expenses. In reality, he's sitting on a pile of cash, laughing to himself while everyone else thinks he's struggling. It's like he's cracked the code of the Bikini Bottom economy and decided to game the system from the inside out. Think about it. Patrick has figured out that by pretending to be a broke, clueless starfish, he can skirt around the responsibilities of normal life. No taxes, no debts, and no expectations from society. He's effectively hiding his assets by living under a rock. It's a classic hiding in plain sight strategy. To everyone else, he's just a dim-witted starfish, but in reality, he might be pulling the ultimate con. So, is there any proof for these theories? Not exactly, but that's part of the fun. Patrick's financial situation is one of the biggest mysteries in Bikini Bottom. We've never seen him with a bank account, a wallet, or even spare change, but we also never see him panicking about money. Either he's the world's most content broke guy, or he's hiding something big. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're at it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the weird and wonderful world of SpongeBob SquarePants. See you in the next one.